who doesn't know what Rooster Teeth is here in the audience? So your first time, all first time people like trying to figure out from Rooster Teeth. Okay, well for the benefit of the people that are joining us for the first time, my name is Burnie Burns, and in 2003, I should stop because every time on the podcast when I complain about like origin stories in superhero movies, people always say, every time I go to a panel you tell the origin story of Rooster Teeth, so apologies in advance. But in 2003 I started a web series in a spare bedroom in my house in Buda, Texas, population 3,000. And it was years before YouTube was founded. It was years before Google purchased YouTube and turned them into what they are today. It was so early in the online video world that you couldn't even watch a video in a web browser. That technology did not exist. We had to teach people how to download a video onto their computer and then load it up in a separate movie player like QuickTime or Winamp at the time, or Windows Media Player, and they would have to play it separately. So we had a challenge back then, which was, it was really cool because we were kind of at the forefront. We felt of something. We knew that this was coming, this big video revolution, but at the same time, because we were so early, the infrastructure that exists today was not even there. Not even pieces of it were in place then. We had our first hit was Red versus Blue. Thank you. Woo to you guys. You guys made it possible. The first episode of that we put online, it's essentially a cartoon based on the video game Halo. We got 3,000 views on the first episode, and this is in April of 2003. The second episode, it got linked everywhere, the first one. Sites at the time like Fark and Slashdot. And so the second episode that we put out, we went from 3,000 viewers to about 250,000 viewers. Then by the end of the month, our fourth episode, we were at 1 million views a week. And we felt like we were doing something really new. We actually had to communicate in the show that it was a show, because back then you had like the dancing baby, or you had like one-off videos that people would put online, but there was never anything that was serialized or part of a series. So even from the very beginning, we called it the popular web series Red versus Blue, even though it was the first episode and nobody knew what it was. So that was part of our branding, because we felt like we had to communicate to the audience that there was more than just one episode at a time. And it was especially challenging for the initial popularity. It was amazing because it was like one of those, as close as you get to like an overnight success story. It was like really like a dream come true, because I had wanted to work in entertainment for a long time. I worked in the telecom industry. As you can tell, I'm a little bit older than most creators. Telecom industry? Shout out. What's that?
I think I might have worked where you worked.
Where did you work?
Telenetwork?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. I quit. It was bad.
You did?
Yeah.
I quit too. But it was a really great company. They let us work on, and there was two of our guys, Gus and Jeff, were working with me at the time. We were tech support guys, and we were going home at night and working on this stuff for fun. But back in those days, there was no YouTube. There was no online pre-roll ads that you could put in front of it to make money from this stuff. So we actually had to host it ourselves, and then when people downloaded it and we had a huge hit, it actually cost us money. In the first month, Gus figured out our server bill was going to be $14,000 for our fun little hobby that we were doing at night from our $10 an hour jobs at the point. I made more than that. They only make $10 now. So we had to figure out really quickly what we were going to do and how we were going to keep this thing going. And it's really weird because the world has changed so much between then and now, and Rooster Teeth I feel has been a big part of that. But back in those days, even the idea that you would make money from online content was that was a hurdle that we had to cross. That oh, you're going to try to generate revenue from this? It's that's not what the internet's about. Even the two guys I worked with, Gus and Jeff, they told me, Burnie, it's not about making money, it's about being famous on the internet. And I was like, I'm gonna fire both of you if you ever say anything like that. But it was so we communicated to the audience and we said, hey, you guys are watching this, we think, if the audience has grown this quickly, this quickly, that there are people that are interested in this, and it's not sustainable. Even just delivering it to you guys, forget the time to make it. Forget the investment of time and our own money for equipment and everything. Just the cost of distributing it is unsustainable for us. And so we had to figure out a way in order to keep going as a business. And that was the big piece of advice I would give to creators initially, which is get over the hurdle of mentally that you shouldn't be making money doing this. It's like if you have a show that people want to watch, you have an obligation as an artist to figure out the business side of it so that you can keep making this thing that people love. You have that obligation. You know, it's not like you're like just trying to rake in dough or anything like that. You got to figure out a way to keep things going. Hey Ash, do you want to come up here and join us? You kind of have to now, don't you? So this is Ashley. Ashley is my Amazing Race partner. I was on the Amazing Race with Ashley. Go Yellow Team. She's also has created our informational channel, The Know, and it was something, we'll get into it in a minute. I'm in the origin story version right now. We'll get into it in a minute, but I think Ashley is very valuable because she's had to build a brand within a very well-established brand, which is not a very easy thing. And we have some other people wandering around here that I might force to come on stage. Hi, Ashley.
Hi. Fine. I prepared a lot of things.
Don't worry. I'm actually filling people in for the people that aren't familiar with Rooster Teeth. So anyway, so the way that we did that, we tried to build a business in order to sustain our production was we had to build a brand. So we came up with the brand Rooster Teeth. There was a couple different reasons for that. Mostly production companies in the online world, a lot of times they tend to be named after a person. If you think about your favorite channels, they tend to have a person's name on them, and that person is central to it. First of all, we were animation, and you don't often know who makes your favorite animated hits. Secondly, we were video game based, which tends to be very young. And I, at the time when we started this, was 29. I thought, no one's gonna wanna watch a 31-year-old guy in a couple of years making video game videos. It's just not, it's not gonna work. So we made a brand called Rooster Teeth. We put that above Red versus Blue, and it was also our way of communicating to people that we were going to be making more than just Red versus Blue. We were also going to be making really loud beeping noises as we went down. So when we started Rooster Teeth, we had to figure out a way to like what we were going to do next. And at the time, t-shirts were like the currency of the internet. That's how you funded things back then. It was like this whole t-shirt economy. We learned a lot from people who had successful flash animation shows at the time, like Homestar Runner. Yeah, there we go. God, thank God. So I think the internet's memory is so short, but like in 2001, 2002, Homestar Runner and the Strong Bad Emails were everything. That was like the only web series in existence. What's that? Yeah, Newgrounds, all flash animation. Like the whole world was flash animation, and so that's why we had to teach people how to actually watch rendered videos. But so we started putting out t-shirts for it. And then we started a subscription service. We called it our sponsorship service. It was a PayPal donation button. It said, hey, if you like the show, if you can donate $10 to us, you can see the videos early. And if you donate $20 at the end of the season, we'll burn it on DVD and we'll send it to you. And you might have questions about this in the Q&A, but long story short, the moment we started charging money, based on somebody else's video game that we were making a cartoon on. That's when we got into conversations with Microsoft. And that worked out really well. I think everyone in this room could write how that story probably should have ended, which is, oh, this is cute, get the hell out of here. But they were, you know, to their credit, they were like, we don't understand what this is. People seem to really like it though, and you know, we value innovation. We say we're an innovative company. Let's put our money where our mouth is and see where this goes. And let's see where this goes has turned into a couple weeks, turned into a few months, and now here we are about to celebrate our 14th anniversary. And we've expanded quite a bit. We have over 40 shows. This year we're in the process of really amping up our production value. We saw some things kind of writing on the wall as, you know, YouTube was taking off. And then we saw things like Netflix and Hulu, and what was online video was rapidly changing. And we knew we weren't going to be competing against, you know, the PewDiePies and the Markipliers of the world for very long. We were going to be competing against the HBOs and the Netflix. And when I say competing, I don't necessarily mean like we're making better shows than they are. It's like people are choosing, I want to watch something. This thing is one click away from this thing. So whether or not we're like going head to head with them, we are competing for people's attention with them. So we've been introducing higher production quality shows, things like Day 5, Ashley launched The Know. We do news productions. We did full E3 coverage. We've expanded our gameplay into a full family of the Let's Play network. And then we have all of our scripted content, which is, we hope, blowing up because we've invested a lot of time into it, and the response so far to everything we've released this summer has been great. Anyway, that's Rooster Teeth 14 years encapsulated. You know, the building of the brand and everything, but this is about you guys, the Q&A. So we're just gonna turn it straight over to you guys, see if you have any questions. I think we have some mics in the back. I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to meet you when I came in. What's your name? Carmen. Carmen? Yeah, good to meet you. Carmen's gonna help us today. Thanks, appreciate it.
He's the first person I've seen who's
All right, so this gentleman over here in the maroon shirt.
What gets people to watch your content?
I'd love to give a funny answer to that, but honestly, having our brand at this point is really what drives people to watch our new shows. It's like a trusted thing, where if we put something out on our channels that have a lot of subscribers, we can do it. And I say that specifically because we live in an environment now, and a lot of people who come to VidCon are newer creators or creators that are trying to establish themselves. So I don't take for granted that we have a big brand that was built at a different time. Like, how many of you have your own YouTube channels and are here to like figure out how to grow them and everything else, right? Here's what you're dealing with now. I had Homestar Runner, that was it. I had to teach people how to watch video. You guys are in an environment where you have a lot more tools at your disposal, but because you have them, an upload button, you know, content ID systems, audio matching, subtitling systems in YouTube. You have all these things where everything is a push of a button away. You know, hosting and distribution, all of that. It's all great, but the challenge for you all is that because you have it, everybody else has it as well. And YouTube publishes a stat that I always talk about. It's always daunting, which is that every minute that passes, 400 hours of footage are uploaded to YouTube. And it used to be 300, it used to be 200. Now it's 400 hours of footage that are uploaded every minute to YouTube. So if you wanted to watch every video on YouTube, you would fall 2.5 weeks behind every minute that you tried to do that. And that's really daunting. How do you, as a new creator, cut through that? And I think that's what's important about a brand, and the way I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions about brands since that's the theme today. Building a brand through consistent work, through a consistent release, that's how you can kind of cut through that noise floor and find an audience. Because even a channel like ours that has 8 million subscribers on YouTube, we still struggle with the challenges of discoverability. Like, how do we get new people to watch our content? And our brand is the best way that we do that. But if I was talking to someone who didn't have a brand like that, I would say, be consistent in your content. What I tell all of our producers, what Ashley talks to everyone in the know about, is make content that you would want to see. You know, don't make content you think other people want to see, because that will be just disingenuous. If you're making something that you want to see, that you're passionate about, you just have to have faith that there's enough people out there like you that you can find an audience. Carmen, how this gentleman right here on the edge.
Hello. So my question for you is, when you're designing a product or like a show, how do you know if you'll get the views that you would like? And if you, would you have like a backup plan for that, or is it just sort of like leap of faith and just cross your fingers and hope it works out?
Yeah, you honestly, you don't always know. A lot of it is about taking risks, trying something new. Some of the risks work, some of the risks don't. You know, and like we've had shows before where we love the show, we love doing the show, and it doesn't. But the audience doesn't love it as much as we love it, and so sometimes we have to let them go and focus on the other shows that we're doing strongly in, and try a new risk. That's the beauty of what we do, is we can always try something new, and always, like, that next thing might be the one that sticks harder than anything you thought possible.
And you know, the risk never really goes away. A few years ago, the story of Rooster Teeth was that we ran a crowdfunding campaign for our first feature. And it did really well. And it broke records on Indiegogo. We raised more than any other feature film on that platform ever. But when we started that crowdfunding campaign and we had that very visible ticker of like how well this thing was doing, there was no guarantees. I mean, our goal was $650,000. We ended up raising $2.5 million, but I mean, it's very possible we could have raised $50,000 and not gotten anywhere near our goal. It had a very public, face plant, honestly. So it never goes away. We never feel like, we never take anything for granted. Because our community, whenever we reach out to them to either watch videos or to launch a new product like you're talking about, we just did that with a card game that we started. We always ask them, to support us, but we never take it for granted. But we're always super appreciative when it happens. It's a pretty good track record so far. Yeah.
I have so many questions, but I think what it boils down to is how do you balance the brands of Rooster Teeth versus the single shows that you do? And how do you balance what Rooster Teeth stands for? Because I figure in the no is something completely different than red versus blue. How do you keep your brand consistent and new?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm sure you can answer this as well, but the question being, how do we balance the efforts we make for the brands across all of our different shows? On a personal level, any show that I'm not in, I just suppress. Yeah, suppress. Don't watch that one. It's tough. I think we probably spend more time trying to balance between new programming and existing programming, which is really popular. Like if you look at the history of the company, we had one show for 8 years, and that was Red versus Blue. I'm neglecting the Strangerhood for a good reason. But it's like what we have done historically is we have really big shows and we have a great audience, and then we try to introduce other shows, some of which do really well. Ruby is a great example of that. And then some of them that don't take off, like the Strangerhood, that they don't respond to. So we just have to balance it by keep making the thing everyone likes and don't stop doing that thing to do something new, because when you take something away from the audience, they react very negatively to it. The internet demands progress, but the internet hates change. And if they think you're making a change on them, they will react very negatively. But at the same time, they want progress. They want things to change. Like, great example is YouTube. Every time they change the way comments are done on YouTube, it's an uproar. It's like pitchforks. It's a revolution. Everyone's, I'm never coming on YouTube again. That's a lie, by the way. And it's like, it lasts for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so the changes seem so hard when you're making them, but at the same time, if you're sitting here in 2016 and you pull up the Wayback Machine and you look at the way YouTube looked in 2010, you're like, that site's garbage. I would never use that site. It's got no features on it, it's clunky, it's terrible, but it's all the hard changes, all those little ones along the way that made that evolution. So when building a brand, it's your job to make change look like progress as much as you can. Try to make evolutionary steps as opposed to big revolutionary leaps.
And there's also something to be said for an overarching brand versus the specific shows, is they all have to have something in common, whether that's like a voice or a specific value. That's that's the single thread that goes through really all of our productions, and it tends to be in Rooster Teeth's case a certain sense of irreverence. Or it's like something like that will make it so that all of your shows feel like family. That's the one thing that we try, Achievement Hunter, Funhouse, The No. We all do what we do with a certain level of self-awareness and desire to just have fun.
Yeah.
And that's just a Rooster Teeth core value. And if we have a show that doesn't have that, it usually feels like the second we start testing it feels like it's out of place and it doesn't last very long.
And our audience freaks out when they feel like something is not a Rooster Teeth show. So when we did a dramatic series that we just started putting out called Day 5. It's an apocalyptic series where sleep becomes fatal, and so it's called Day 5 because we pick up on Day 5 of this event and everyone is doing everything they can to stay awake and the world is rapidly falling apart. But it's not a comedic series, and we're better known for comedy. We like to think so. And so it's tough, but it feels like a genuine Rooster Teeth production. We used all of our own, production crews internally to make it, peppered in there with cast members that people are used to seeing. So it's been great so far, but it's been hard.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. For more videos, click on the screen and visit my website for cool merchandise.